sanctions. He's not facing a ceasefire. The next meeting is not set. Zelensky was not told any of this before this press conference.
Did instead, though, is bow completely to Putin. Today, Trump announced that he would be meeting with the Russian president face-to-face next Friday in Alaska.
Maybe we will turn the page. Maybe we can do all those things. But first, you have to end this war. And he didn't. He, in fact, said their relationship was fantastic.
So I've come to know are not going to take this lying down. Because even if Donald Trump does sell them out, they will continue to fight for their country.
Trump promised to hit Putin with a tough ultimatum. Instead, he handed the guy what Russian media is already calling a giant PR victory.
A huge propaganda win for Putin. The Russian media is already celebrating it as a massive PR coup, regardless of what happens today in Alaska.
How do you go from threatening sanctions to rolling out the red carpet on American soil? Stick around, because what happened in Alaska wasn't just awkward, it was a propaganda goldmine for Moscow, and you'll see why this so-called dealmaker instantly became a punchline abroad.
It feels like we've switched sides, not just even getting played. I hope it's getting played. Because if this is intentional, that's even worse. And
I think Trump did not lose, but Putin clearly won.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. How do you go from acting tough on Putin to basically serving him cookies in Alaska? That's the wild part of this story. It wasn't long ago that Trump was pounding his chest saying he'd put Russia in check with sanctions, showing raw power like no other president could. The image he painted was of a guy who would walk into the room and instantly make Putin sweat. He even bragged that just his presence at the negotiation table would be enough to bring Moscow to heel.
Sanctions. He's not facing a ceasefire. The next meeting is not set. Zelensky was not told any of this before this press conference.
Putin and Trump are making, and have made all along, is thinking that they can determine Ukraine's fate without the input of the Ukrainians.
Now fast forward, and instead of delivering a thunderous ultimatum, he's handing out teacups like a polite host at a family reunion. The switch is staggering. 1 minute we're promised spine-chilling toughness, the next he's laying out pastries and asking if Putin takes sugar or milk.
Did instead, though, is bow completely to Putin. Today, Trump announced that he would be meeting with the Russian president face-to-face next Friday in Alaska.
Trump's public tough guy act had always been wrapped in the idea that he was immune to manipulation. He claimed sanctions would be immediate and devastating, the kind of punishment Russia would never want to face.
I thought Trump looked very tired up there. I mean, very tired. Not disappointed, tired. And we'll have to reflect on what that means.
Supporters imagined him pushing papers across the table with bold red lines drawn on them. Instead, we all watched as the threats vanished into thin air. No handshake with iron grip, no steel glare, just an open invitation. Alaska became the stage for something closer to a playdate than a political standoff. It was the kind of scene you'd expect from a politician desperate to look diplomatic, not from a guy who calls himself the world's greatest negotiator.
Maybe we will turn the page. Maybe we can do all those things. But first, you have to end this war. And he didn't. He, in fact, said their relationship was fantastic.
Ultimatum for Vladimir Putin. End the war in Ukraine or else face new crippling economic sanctions. That was the ultimatum.
For years, Trump branded himself as the ultimate dealmaker. He wrote about it, talked about it, built his identity on the idea that he could outsmart anyone in the room. But when cameras captured him sitting meekly while Putin set the tone, it looked less like a masterstroke and more like a student who forgot his homework.
It's far from over, but I'd say Putin achieved most of what he wanted. Trump achieved very little.
So when Donald Trump tells Ukraine to accept the occupation of its land, that is what he is endorsing.
Russian media pounced on it immediately. Broadcast showed anchors chuckling about how easily America's tough talk vanished once real discussions began.
So I've come to know are not going to take this lying down. Because even if Donald Trump does sell them out, they will continue to fight for their country.
I understand that you said Trump didn't lose. I actually think Putin came out of here more significant a winner because he has...
They didn't have to invent jokes, the scene wrote itself. To them, it wasn't just a political meeting, It was a comedy routine performed in real time, with Trump playing the clown.
Not issued. I think that's why he came here, was to avoid sanctions again and keep the economy while it's rickety.
Imagine turning on your television in Moscow and seeing clip after clip of anchors laughing out loud, calling it a massive public relations win for Putin. They made it feel like America itself had taken part in a live broadcast surrender, and the audience back home was loving every second of it. Russian commentators almost didn't need to exaggerate. The sight of Trump shuffling back, smiling nervously, while Putin looked relaxed and confident was enough to feed their late-night comedy shows for weeks.
Steam out of the people that were opposed to Trump on Ukraine, and then all of a sudden, overnight, Witkoff goes to Russia.
For a man who prided himself on being the alpha, this was the ultimate beta moment. Then came the most shocking element, the little what-if about swapping territories. To Trump, it may have seemed like throwing out another hypothetical, like he does so often. But reframing Ukrainian land as a bargaining chip wasn't just weak optics, it was flirting with legitimizing a violent occupation.
We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both.
Ukrainians don't hear the phrase land swap as some clever shortcut in negotiations. They hear it as the polite way of saying, we're fine with you losing your homes. Every building taken, every family forced to cross borders, every memory erased under occupation, none of it feels like just a number on a map. To reduce that pain into a casual deal-making option is brutal. Real people's lives become bargaining tokens, and all for the sake of Trump trying to appear like he had struck a grand bargain. If you ask ordinary Ukrainians about land swaps, they'll tell you there's no such thing as harmless compromise in that context.
About land swaps, let me tell you what that really means. It means telling Ukraine to give up parts of its country to an invader, now an occupier.
Putin has, I think, gone a long way to reestablishing the relationship, which I've always believed was his key goal.
It feels like being erased, being told your home doesn't matter, that your community is disposable for the sake of politics. It's not a negotiation to them, it's legitimizing the violence they already live under.
And then we're giving Putin a victory. So even if nothing comes out of the summit, ultimately, Putin is going to walk away. A war criminal is going to...
For a ceasefire, he leaves with nothing. Putin got a flyover, a red carpet, a lot of handshakes, and a lot of great state TV coverage.
When Trump floated that kind of idea, he didn't just weaken America's credibility. He made it seem like the suffering of Ukrainian families was nothing more than a footnote in his personal hustle game.
Donald Trump is meeting today on U.S. soil with Vladimir Putin, a war criminal indicted by the International Criminal Court.
And so, the supposed art of the deal collapsed into what can only be called the art of the flop.